My career sucks.
Sex just isn't the same.
What's my purpose?
Where did this fat come from?
My relationship is killing me.
I'll never be happy.
My debt is piling up. I'll never find love. Why can't I be like other gay guys? Hey guys, it's time to get a grip, stop whining, make a bold move, and do something amazing with your 40-plus gay life. Let's get to the show with your Tell It Like It Is host, Rick Clemons, who does his best to never act like a dick or a diva unless you act like one first.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 40 Plus Gay Man Gay Talk. I am so excited to have you here. And again, as you always know, join our Facebook group, get involved there, or even come join our men's chats once a month. We always have a great time over there. But today we're going to go dig into something that I feel like I'm not going to say we're all getting lazy, or maybe we're not as aware as we should be, but there's some stuff going down around us, boys. And I feel like having a talk about awareness about what is going on in the planet, especially in the US right now, is really important, and seeing where our queer archives play a part in this, what we can learn from our past queer and gay history. And as I was thinking, well, where do I go? One of my clients said, I know a guy that I think could be really good. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's check this out. And I was really impressed. The individual you're about to meet through the airwaves and on here on YouTube, his name is Adrian Cardwell. He is the executive director of Badge of Pride, and it's really about archiving and looking at the artifacts and the storytelling and why our stories are so important. And I just couldn't help but think, what a great person to bring onto the podcast. So without any more to say about that, I'm going to let him kind of give us the guide of what he's doing and everything. I'd like to welcome Adrian to the podcast. So thanks for being here, buddy. So glad you're here.
Thanks so much, Rick. It's great to be here with you and to meet all of your listeners. And it's a hell of an intro, right? It's one of those things.
I see you got the memo too, like wear black.
That's right.
You know? For those of you watching us on YouTube, it's so funny. I mean, black is one of the colors I like to do, not because, it's just, downer and stuff, but it's just one of those, like, it's so funny. Every time I wear a black t-shirt, most 90% of the time the guest shows up in black. I'm like, okay, we didn't talk about this, but
there's a wavelength here.
There's something going. Of course, he's in Texas. It must be chillier because he's got long sleeve on. I'm in California with short sleeves on. But so let's kind of talk about what you obviously got drawn into this work and this passion around this. What was kind of that spark for you, Adrian, when you realized, I want to do something, I want to see us have voice, I want to see our stories told? What was that spark?
Yeah. Well, so this has been an archive that I personally have been building for over 30 years. So I started collecting little bits of our queer history as a young.
So what were you, 1 year old when you started? Because you don't look like, I'm flirting with you now, man, saying you don't look 30, but
I'm a ripe 51. So.
Okay, there you go. Well, you're looking good, man. Okay, enough of the flirting. Let's carry on here. So
okay. So I started collecting this material as a means for myself as a young queer thing in West Texas to find connection with a community. My coming out process was not cute. It was not good. So I was in a deep, dark place, and I found community and comfort in PFLAG. PFLAG is still, to this day, hands down, my favorite LGBT affiliated organization. And they very literally saved my life and told me, hey, kid, you're not broken, you're not damaged, you're not, unworthy. You are part of a rich, beautiful community. And they would start to share things with me because, I couldn't find stuff from the library. This is like, 1991 in West Texas, right? So it ain't happening.
Not gonna find it there.
No, there was nothing to protest at the library, No.
I remember working. I worked at a few years earlier than that. I actually worked at Abilene Christian University and Hardin Simmons University, and man, there was this wasn't even talked about. It just isn't discussed, even though there was lots of under the cover. I'm like, if those boys on those college campuses had Grindr and Scruff at that back then, it would have been a whole different world. But anyway,
a whole different ball of wax, right? Well, and so I they would hand me articles, and I would I would read these, and then I would look up the people that were mentioned in the articles, right? So if it was, XYZ was at Stonewall in 1969, I would call, and if they were in New York, right? I would call 212-555-1212. So
Hmm.
I'm also giving my age away here. But and I would call, and this is also before caller ID, so people would answer the damn phone, right? We didn't have all of the people trying to reach us about our extended auto warranty, right? So,
Right. Or our
and I would just
political
start
contributions and all that stuff, like
exactly all of
just,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, and I would literally just call people up and start talking to them, and they would say, "Oh, hey, you know what? Here, let me send you one of our postcards from a Pride March in the 1970s. Let me send you one
Mm,
of our early buttons," and from there is kind of how it started, and
awesome.
then. Fast forward 30 years and 10,000 objects later that we have in our collection now.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, and so but it really wasn't the idea for Badge of Pride. Didn't really occur to me until kind of in the midst of the pandemic. Um, so I'd been working I was a corporate executive at the time, and we're in September of 2020, and we're 6 months into the pandemic. We all had to stop, right? Like
Right.
there was just, this is what you're doing. You're going on these long walks, and you now have all of this time to think. And I realized that, as I was looking at, if you picture the Venn diagram of my work
Hmm.
and my values, they were distinct circles. They were not overlapping.
Hmm.
And that's when I knew it was time for me to step away from the corporate gig. And
Yep.
I'd never looked back. But the idea for Badge of Pride didn't really occur to me until spring of 2022. So 2 years later. So I spent 2 years just sort of, what the fuck am I doing now, right? I had done the planning that would make sure that I could leave when I did.
Right.
And so, I was pretty secure, but was pretty rapidly getting bored. So I
Yep.
needed I needed something.
Been there, done
And
that.
yeah, and so my husband, he also works in nonprofit, and
Hmm.
so he's like, there's a nonprofit here. There's something you could be doing with this collection, rather than it, sitting in our house. So it's also to help us declutter a little bit.
Right. Yeah. We don't want to end up on an episode of Hoarders here. It's
Right,
like,
exactly. Yeah, we don't want to find like, oh, where's the cat? Oh, it's been gone
yeah,
for 10 years under all this shit, right?
yeah. Poor
Um,
kitty.
Yeah, poor
Uh,
thing.
right.
And so he finally, there was one day, he was like, yeah, just go away somewhere, go on a trip. And
Okay. I'm glad you qualified and didn't stop with just go away.
just
You
go
know,
away, go on a
just
trip.
go away. We're done.
Yeah. I mean, he was probably getting close to that too, but
Okay. Yeah. I get it. I've been there when I was starting this business. My husband's like, is this thing ever going to make any money? Because.
yeah, hey, that's where I'm at with this too now. But so I decided to go and walk Hadrian's Wall. So
Mm,
it's a coast to coast walk along the coast of northern England, or along the border of northern England. And so you start on the west. I started on the west coast and walked all the way across the country
mm.
solo, and was hanging out with my buddy Hadrian, also a queer Roman emperor, for those listening. And just days before I was set to leave on my flight, I broke my toe, and I'm like, well, shit. I'm gonna be.
I can relate to so many things you're saying right now. We were getting ready to go on a vacation, and literally a week before we were going to where was this one? We were doing the Caribbean, and so we had mapped out all these things. Like we're gonna do this like rafting thing down through water, and I freaking broke my toe. There's nothing worse than breaking your toe right before a
No,
vacation. So sorry to
no, yeah,
take us
no,
off course, but I
exactly.
can totally feel for you, man.
Well, yeah, and I had my
And
hiking
you're gonna
boots.
walk.
Yeah, I had my hiking boots. I had all my shit, right. I was ready to go.
Jeez.
And so I'm like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I couldn't get my hiking boots on. And so I got to London, and I found this sort of Swedish hippy dippy kind of hiking shop, and I
Hmm.
found some hiking sandals. And I'm
Mm.
like, well, okay, now I'm going to do it full Roman style here. Uh, in the sandals. But
This
anyway,
would be a much better story if you said, so I called up Prince Harry and he said, sure, let's go hike together. And
let's
then
go
there was a
do it.
romance that developed, but
Well,
anyway.
and my husband's a ginger, so
See, I'm like just manifesting all these thoughts here right now. It's kind of
yes.
crazy. So,
So yeah, so I think Harry may still be in my five, so
okay, well, Harry's in like my five for damn sure. So,
but anyway, so I'm on this walk, and I'm also so now I'm just kind of like lumbering, like I'm shambling like a zombie now
mm.
across
I could
northern.
ask you for those watching on YouTube to show us how you lumber, but we won't go there. So,
but so I'm sort of now I have even more time alone. So
Mhm.
it's just me and my thoughts and this beautiful, beautiful English countryside. And I start reflecting on just the noise and the bullshit that has really escalated toward our community.
Mhm.
And then this question that Harvey Milk asked, and it is central now to kind of everything that we do. So Harvey asked, how can people change their minds about us if they don't know who we are?
Mm.
And so I thought, well, shit, I have 10,000 objects here that tell our story, or at least part
Yeah.
of it, right? It shows about where we fought. It showed us how and what we fought for,
Mhm.
and how we connected and how we built community. And that was really sort of like that was the spark that says, okay, how do I build an organization to activate this, right? To
Right.
make it a living thing and not just some boring ass archive, right?
Mhm.
And so, and that's really kind of like, okay, so now I'm like, okay, and what can I go do? And thankfully, I have a great friend who's also on my board, and she's a museum person. And so I have just another little caveat here. I have a little bit of maybe an OCD here, but I have these 10,000 objects photographed, documented, cataloged. There's a number, there's a box I know where they go to.
Mhm.
I can find anything at the drop of a hat, tagged by subject and all that jazz, right? So a nerd. And so
Mm.
my friend Melissa, she's also a museum professional, and she's like, well, all right, Cardwell, I think you're going to come out of the closet twice. Uh, First is as a gay man,
Right.
and second is as you're a full-blown museum nerd.
Wow.
And so she had a meeting. She arranged a meeting with one of her friends here in North Texas, Jennifer Landry, who is the director of the Irving Archive and Museum,
Mm.
which is just right in between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Mhm.
And at the time, they were hosting a traveling exhibit from the Smithsonian on the Green Book.
Mm.
And the Green Book, for those who are not familiar, it was basically a guide for the African American community in the Jim Crow era so that they could road trip and
Mm.
know where to go, what to avoid, right? So you think
Right.
about, I mean, I guess maybe an equivalent might be the Damron's guide for us older gay men. It was sort of like, hey, go here.
Go here.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, and so
I haven't thought
yeah,
about
so
that book in ages. It's so
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that did exist. I mean, I wasn't. I think that was one of the first books I actually when I came out because I came out at 36. But there was through from 19 when I came out the first time, and then 36 when I'm like, okay, I'm a full blown queen. Let's just go. Right. There
Yeah.
were these little books that I found along the way. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and I always
Hmm.
used to go like, well, is there a way I could use the Damron guide to go somewhere and meet some gay men without my wife knowing? All these things. I'm
Hmm.
so glad that these things are showing up, Adrian, in what you're sharing here because I think so many people need to one, remember this,
Yep.
and B, be introduced to this so they can see where we have come from and where we're at, and so that we can see where we're at now is actually playing out like it
Exactly.
did back in the Stonewall era, sort of thing. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean it's and when you spend time studying, especially the last 50, 60 years of
yep,
our community in particular, we kind of do have these cycles of we advance a little bit and then boy howdy that pushback is swift and
very swift.
aggressive
Yep.
and nasty. And then we get back into this rebuild mode, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this has been a cycle for our community. And it does seem to happen about once every, 10 years or so. So
Mm-hmm.
here we are 10 years after federal marriage equality, having the conversations that we're having, right?
Yep.
And just all of the
Well, it's not
noise.
even
So
just
it's
that. I mean, in your state alone, there's conversations happening that you're just like, really, is this being discussed again?
right.
I can't remember his name. You probably know him. I can see his little face, but he's with Equality Texas. I've had him on the podcast, and we went through similar discussions. It's like, I can't believe we're actually having to have these conversations once again. And actually, I just had Brian Bond on the podcast from PFlag, and he and I were discussing this similar thing. So you're in such a beautiful space with what you're doing here, Adrian.
Mhm.
So you see this thing in
Yeah.
Irving with the Green Book and everything. So where did that catapult you from there? Like, okay, this thing is
Yeah.
growing; it's becoming something.
Yeah, so when I met with Jennifer and we were and I saw this beautiful exhibit, and I understood the work that she wants to do as a community museum to tell
Mm-hmm.
community stories, and I showed her a little bit of my own archive, and I think we both were like, oh wow, there is something here, there is an exhibit.
Yep.
And so so that's what we set ourselves to do, was to build an exhibit. We didn't set out to build the largest exhibit of queer history in the state of Texas, but it just sort of happened that way. Here we are 2025 and just now having an exhibit like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we set our sights on it. I'm not a historian. I'm not a trained archivist. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just a passionate history nerd, who happened to, over the course of several decades, build a pretty nationally significant collection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm a very quick study. So
Okay.
I got the books and says, here's how you build an exhibit. And that's what I started reading and sort of, and then I had great counsel from Jen and her team, as we were putting this thing together. And, this is I think it's also important for everybody to understand is that this was a city owned museum. It is a
Right.
city-owned museum. And so it's subject to political oversight and political whims. And so we had to navigate creating a queer history exhibit in today's political climate. And we were originally going to do it last year. We thought, okay, let's do it in summer 2024. And then we were like, oh no, not in an election year. Don't
Right.
don't do that. So we're like,
Right.
okay, fine, we'll do it in 2025. Well, and then here we are.
I jokingly said to my husband in the car this week when we were driving somewhere, I'm like, so what are they going to call it in 2026? Is it going to be Project 2026?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
but
Yeah.
but I think it's interesting that I mean, it's not interesting. It is something to be considering, like, okay, you could shrink back and go, okay, we're not going to do this because, and there's a lot of people have said that to me, like, are you going to keep doing your podcasts? I'm like, of course I'm going to keep doing my podcast. Well, don't you feel exposed? I said, I'm already exposed. So why go silence myself? And I don't
That's
throw
right.
everything at the political. I mean, we talk about dicks and jerking off. And I mean, I'm probably going to get in trouble more for that than some of this other stuff. But I think the important piece here, and you and I talked about this before we even turned the recording on today, this is I can't remember the term you actually said, but kind of shoulder to shoulder, let's go. It's that
Yeah.
sort of moment. And I realize for many people, it can be very intimidating. And so shoulder to shoulder may mean you're just donating money every which way you can.
Mhm.
It could be that you're calling your state representatives, your, national representatives, whatever it means. That could be your shoulder to shoulder. You may not feel like you feel comfortable standing out on a street corner. I guess I've worked the street corner so long, it's just part of my routine. But it's a joke, guys. It's a joke. I'm not. Look at me. Do you think I look like your average sex worker? I don't think so. But anyway, but I think it's important that we do this, quote, shoulder to shoulder work right now. And if we live in fear, they win.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and so I think of this as sort of like, and I obviously I don't want to, conflate with, generational trauma and, ethnic trauma, but I imagine we're in a moment as sort of a queer diaspora, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is that we for the longest time we found safety and community in our neighborhoods. And then we have slowly, as we've assimilated, or whatever the term we want to use, we've now kind of gone to where we're living our own separate lives out in every community, which we are everywhere,
Right.
So
Yep.
spoiler alert. But it's definitely there is the idea of there's got to be a calling home, right? And that is, whether, to your point, whether it's a physical shoulder to shoulder, we are standing in solidarity and unity, or finding ways to show up. And so we absolutely need that right now, right? We have to show up for each other, and we have to show up for every letter in our spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And
that's an interesting piece of this puzzle. So we're going to switch this slightly to gay man right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not, again, guys listening, this is not to pass judgment. This is an observation. For me, when we aren't united in our LGBTQIA plus whatever, okay, you can agree to disagree. Like, I don't know why we have to include everybody under the sun. The thing is we are the community, I think, that says, here's what diversity truly looks like. And I'm not discounting, people of color or anything like that, okay? Because that's a whole thing too. But if you notice, people of color, they band together. When it was, about women and the Me Too movement, they band together. So why do we not choose to band together? I don't care if you don't get a trans person, you don't get somebody who says, I'm, gender nonconforming. You don't have to get them to support them. And they are part of our world, okay? Like it or not, and I hate to even say it that way, they are part of what's going to help us take our movement as a community, as a LGBTQIA plus. And I'll say, guys, as a gay community, they're going to help us continue to move things forward. And when we don't and make that inclusion happen, we are actually, from my perspective, shooting ourselves in the foot.
That is, I mean, there's some truth right there, right? And I think if you ask anybody about Stonewall, like you say, what names come to your mind when you think of Stonewall and the Stonewall uprising? There are two names that invariably are going to be at the top. That's Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson, two trans women of color. So, get used to it, folks. I mean, they have stood up for us, and they are at a point now where they're particularly vulnerable, and we have to show up for them.
Yeah. I just interviewed somebody who's become a friend of mine. His name is Eric Swanson. He is a drag performer by the name of Miss Bouvier, and he was on a cruise that my husband and I did this past summer. And he's very much an activist. Not only is he an amazing performer, he is a drag performer that does sing. He's got an amazing voice. And he talked about, he had just got done doing a show at Stonewall, like the 2 days before we did the interview. And he goes, you don't really get it until you walk up the stairway, because he goes, the stairway where we go to get on stage, he goes, is still intact from when Stonewall. That is where everybody went up this stairway so they could hold hands behind this window where you couldn't look in, hold hands, kiss each other, whatever it was. And he goes, just walking up that stairway is enough to make you have shivers, because you realize this is where so much of our community began. and begin to be
Yeah.
present in the world. And I love what you said about assimilating out here in society. My husband and I live Central Coast, California, beautiful little small town. There's gay life. Sometimes we're like, we're with the binoculars, like, where is it? We know it's there. We can see it on the apps, and mostly it's blank apps. But anyway, we won't go into that discussion today. But there is so much assimilation, which I think is really good. But the thing that I think sometimes gets lost is when we go assimilate out into the world, we forget to let the world see us as who we are. Now,
That's
here's an interesting little fact about this little town that I live in. I think everybody knows I live in San Luis Obispo, so what am I hiding from? There are so many gay business owners, gay and lesbian business owners in this little teeny tiny town, and not one of them hides it.
Yeah.
Not one of them. I mean, literally, I shouldn't say they don't hide it, but they don't make it a deal, but they also don't hide it. It's like it is very well known. And I think this is part of what we have to continue to do is, like you said this earlier when you're talking about Harvey Milk, like if they don't know us, they can't understand us. So we've got this interesting pulling of both things. Like you need to assimilate in, but don't assimilate in and then hide. It's like, we're very, very present. I think this is something right now that when we talk about what you can do shoulder to shoulder is let yourself be seen.
Yeah.
Let your life be seen. Like I'm getting up grumpy one morning, just like any other husband would wake up. And then, when I'm grumpy, it makes him grumpy. And then boom, there we go. Right.
Yeah.
This is just life. He goes off to work. I stay here and do my work. But, we live a life, we go do these things. And I think this is the important pieces right now, Adrian, on top of what you're doing. Like, here's the history. I don't know that sometimes, and because I work with guys that have come out later in life, I don't know that they really grasp the importance of the history that came before them so that they could come out at 45, 50, 55, 60. I just interviewed a guy who came out at 70 years old. There's a lot of history that preceded all of that, right?
Yeah.
And so this is why I think what you're doing is so important. So what is one of the things at this stage in the work that you're doing that is you're seeing the reflection of, oh yeah, here's the past, it's here in the present? What's something that as I'm sure there's hundreds of things, but there's thousands probably.
Yeah, there's so much. I'm like, hey, how much time you got? But
we've got 10 minutes, man. 10 minutes and the podcast's over. So,
but here's the thing. Yeah, so here it is. You look back and you our dearly departed Anita Bryant, who just passed away.
But I'm going to interrupt you here because there's going to be people who don't even get that significance.
Oh, that's true.
But I love where you're going. I think I know where you're going. So
and
you're
Anita
too
Bryant,
kind to say dearly departed, but whatever.
So she was, a singer and a spokesperson for Florida Orange Juice in the late 1970s, and Miami-Dade County had passed an anti-discrimination ordinance in Miami-Dade, and so she was up in arms about that, and so she led the crusade, became the face of that, and that we're talking earlier about that cycle of backlash, and if you listen to what she said in 1977, 1978. And you fast forward to 2025, they're saying the same shit. They don't have new talking points. So it's the same stuff, just recycled and regurgitated. And so when like, what is a parallel from the past to today? That is a perfect example. You can almost take it verbatim, some of this crap that she said, and then you now hear it in the halls of Congress.
Right. And the thing is that verbatim stuff shows they're not willing to go do the work and uncover, is it true or not? They're not willing to have the conversations. And that's what's sad. I mean, I can get on my soapbox pretty quickly and like go off, but I will also make room for, well, then help me understand you. I'm not going to say I'm still going to like you, but help me understand you. I want to see in fact, I have a client in my other world of speaking who he is, he's been a CNN contributor. He had his own show for a bit. And he is like really out there, like, we've got to start talking about how we have bridge these conversations, how we build the bridges. Because if we can't build bridges, which is kind of unfortunate, I think that's kind of where we are right now, is that bridges are not even a discussion point. But I think this is the key to what you're bringing up right now, Adrian, is those kind of things, like bringing Anita Bryant from the past into the present and going, it's been whatever 40 50 years now, 60s 70s, whatever, it's been that long, and the rhetoric has not changed one bit.
No, it really hasn't.
I mean, I heard somebody say the other day, like, well, it was something about when dipshit new health secretary is like, we're not going to allow this AIDS, HIV stuff research to continue. Well, good. Maybe finally now it'll just kill all the gays. I'm like, wait a second here.
Yeah.
We don't own the market on that disease, so let's be really clear on that. It seemed that way back when it first came, that it was all the gay thing, but there is so much prevalence throughout the world. And if we really will go look at the African statistics, okay, let's go to Africa and that part of the world and see how much of that actually was present at the same exact time that it was becoming, it's happening here and here in the quote gay communities, but they don't want to go listen. They don't want to go do that. It's like having the Bible talk. Forget it. I have told so many people, you do know that in 1942 is when homosexuality got added to the Bible by white men, right? You do know that. Oh, no, that's not true. It's always been there. No. Go look it up. They won't look it up. They will not go. They won't watch the documentary. I've been told numerous times, Adrian, you're making this up. I'm like, yeah.
No.
Guess what? That is not going on my sin list to not get me into heaven. So I'm actually like, hey, this is the truth. So
I've got other sins that are taken up. I don't need to lie about that.
Well, we're not going to discuss those on this show today, Adrian. So
that's a different show.
Because girl, I'm sure you and I can both go, what? This one and this one. Right. We may not make it, right? But I think this is the value of what you're bringing truly into light. And what is some of the proudest moments you've had for yourself? Not like I'm building, like, what is a proud moment you've had for yourself that really like, okay, this is my calling?
There have been some great ones. And I'll do my best not to get emotional here, but come on, cry. It's good for ratings, man. It's good for ratings. Good ratings. But I've had on multiple occasions, both from people coming to me and coming to the museum director. The museum director, she had somebody come in and share with the staff that this person was really working hard on their sobriety and was feeling like, okay, tonight I think I'm gonna go have a drink, and they came to the exhibit and they said, I found strength here to stay sober one more day, to see myself, my stories, my community reflected on the walls. Another story, a friend of mine, she is an LPC, a licensed professional counselor, and she works with a lot of queer youth. And she had a trans client who was having a very, very, very hard time, and I think was in a dark place, and came to the exhibit and said that I've never felt like I was part of a community until I was able to physically see something that said we were here and we've always been here. And she said that her sessions got better after coming and seeing our exhibit. And so I can't ask for anything better than that. No. It's, helping people see themselves reflected on the wall in a cultural institution because they deserve it.
Right.
And so that, and just seeing all of the emotion that people have brought to bear when they've stood in the exhibit. And then there's also the generative power of it. And here's the thing, this does not happen with history exhibits, but we set up a station for people to create a work of art. to make it visualize like a quilt, if you will.
Right.
And over 200 people created original works of art inspired by our exhibit.
Wow.
And there, it's just so gorgeous. And then right before we closed, we invited 14 queer poets to come into the space
Hmm.
and they all kind of came in together and they all found inspiration in one object in the exhibit and they each wrote an original poem. And that's now an anthology that we have.
That's awesome,
Um,
man.
that so just that this history, people are connecting, their lives are being impacted, and in so many cases they're also creating. And so I'm like,
Right.
then that's the secret sauce for me. That's how I knew I've done my job right. And you know
Awesome.
what? We didn't get protested.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So where do you want to take this from here? Like where's the big dream from this point forward?
So yeah, so we have some meetings coming up where we will take this exhibit that we mounted in Irving. We're going to reformat it for travel. And so it will go on the road. I want it to go to more places around Texas, around the
Mm,
South.
mm,
That's where this shit needs to be seen, right?
yeah.
This people in Louisville, Kentucky need to
Hmm.
see this,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I can tell you
Um,
some spaces in California it needs to be seen too. So
that's right.
just
Yes.
hit me up. I'll give you the here's the counties. They need to
Yeah.
go see this, right? Not
Yeah.
San Francisco is great, but and
Yeah.
LA, WeHo, all that's great. But it is so interesting to, see you get out of certain areas and it's like it could be West Texas in a heartbeat, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Yeah, and so we're going to work on taking this project on the road. We are also, I think, by the time this episode airs, we will have announced the title of our second original exhibition,
Awesome.
which will be coming in fall of 2028. And then we're also launching an oral history project called Deep in the Heart, where
Mm,
we're going to find queer Texans that live all at least 100 miles from the major metros and get their stories.
that's so cool. That's so cool. I love it, man.
Thanks.
So, to wrap this up, what I would like to know is what do you need help with? How can listeners help? If they're interested in helping, is there a place to donate to the foundation or the archives? You probably don't need any more archives, but I'm sure there's probably things that still have not yet be seen. I will
That's
say
exactly
that. In
right.
fact, it's interesting because as you were talking through that, and I don't believe I have it, but that's my turn to try not to get emotional. There's a photo somewhere, if it's still alive, of me in a hospital room with my uncle in San Francisco right before he passed from AIDS. And this was right at the beginning of it. So blotches everything. And he was trying to stay covered up and everything. And I remember this photo that he had his hospital gown on. And as I was bending down to give him a kiss, it kind of slipped and you could just see the blotches on his chest and up his neck a little bit more. And there was one on his face right below where I kissed him. And I remember people were like, weren't you concerned? I'm like, it is what it is, and
Yeah,
I wish I could find that photo because it's like literally right at the beginning of the crisis and everything. We didn't know what was going on,
that's right.
and he went very quickly. But so I'm glad. So yes, so wherever we can help, we'll have a link to the website, of course. But what else besides, I guess, word of mouth is another good way of like, hey, I heard
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
podcast and put it out there. And if you're within 100 miles of some of these metro areas in Texas, Adrian said he's looking for you to talk
That's right.
about, what your stories are. So
Yeah, if you're outside of 100 miles from the major metros, but absolutely connect with us on social media. You can find Badge of Pride on both Instagram and Facebook.
yeah,
And of course, our website, badgeofpride.org. We do have an active collecting initiative as well. So we are still looking for objects. We're looking for stories, because our stories are our in Well, let me say, look, I'm tripping up on my words here. Our stories are artifacts,
Hmm. Yep.
and so we want to capture those stories. And of course, as a nonprofit organization, we can always use financial support, and you can find
Of
that at
course.
badgeofpride.org.
Well, I hope somebody, more than just one person, hears this. It's been great conversation. So glad I got to know you. I'm gonna give a little shout out to our buddy Luis for connecting us, because
Uh,
this show would not have happened had he not said, "Hey, I know this guy," and I appreciate that. And any of you listeners who think there's stories or guests that you think are really good for 40 plus gay men gay talk, I would love to hear from you. But Adrian, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for sharing and having a great conversation, some good laughs as well. And I wish nothing but the best for this project to continue forward, buddy. So thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Rick. It's been an absolute delight. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap for 40 Plus. Gay men, gay talk, where size doesn't matter. We drop our bullshit, get over our screwed up fears, make bold moves, and live life without apologies. Don't forget to join us on Facebook at 40 Plus, Gay Men, Gay Talk, where the conversations continue.